What's up, everyone? Welcome back into another episode of Between the Eers. I'm Schuyler, Callihan, my co-host, as always, Christopher Hall. We've had a couple of days to think about it. West Virginia, Penn State. We had our episode the morning after. Of course, it ended up happening to be our most viewed the morning after show, or actually the most viewed Between the Eers that we've had. So thank you guys for tuning in for that. I'm sure we had some Penn State fans rolling in too. Definitely logged up the comment section for sure, but it was a lot of fun. Hopefully moving forward, we have that interaction and after a win as well. So this week, West Virginia, they'll play Albany, the FCS opponent. They made it to the semifinals a year ago. We're going to get more into that game tomorrow on that episode of Between the Ears, but today is going to be focused more so on what we saw in week one, kind of expanding our thoughts from Sunday's episode and talking more bigger picture here. What are the biggest issues for this team right now, the biggest concerns? And Chris, let's start with the offense first, because I think that's where I think a lot of people are more disappointed than anything. And really, the defense is getting a lot of criticism, specifically Jordan Leslie from the fan base over the last couple of days. And I get it. But to me, I felt like the offense was the one thing that you kind of could hang your hat on going into this game, knowing, hey, if you can at least score, 20 or so points, you got a chance to pull off the upset. They didn't come anywhere near that. So let's start with the offense first. Some of the glaring issues that you saw, and if are any of them fixable, or are all of them fixable? What's your take?
My biggest concern heading into the season was receivers, and it's still a huge concern. Um, that was just a bad showing offensively all around. Garrett Green didn't help his receivers, but the receivers didn't help him either. He's going to have off days, and when balls hit your hands, you got to bring them down. If you want him to go to the next level, these are balls you have to bring down. So, yeah, receivers, period. Like, that's the biggest concern. A little concerned with the running backs, although I think it'll be fixed. All it was fixed last year. They're dancing in the backfield again. And I mean, you got to give credit to some of that Penn State just being disciplined on the defensive side of the ball. But when they're not giving you much, you got to hit the hole. Like you
Yeah.
just got to go forward. You can't be hesitant in the backfield. And you saw the results in the running game because of it. So really, it's just the receivers. Like they've got to perform better. They were open at times. Green missed some passes again. Some of that had to do with the pressure that Penn State was bringing. But receivers, like they have got to step up. They want to win the Big 12. Said it all off season. Like was just been dogging the receivers. I feel like for 3 years, but they haven't had the production to have any positive talk. Like we heard Neil Brown say it last year. Like all your production can't be against Duquesne. Well, now they got
Yeah.
Albany. Like all your production can't. Like it'll be great if they can throw for 300 yards and all the good stuff, but it doesn't matter. Like this is a week to get back in the rhythm offensively, but going to have to do it against Pitt. Going to have to do it against Kansas. Going to have to do it against Oklahoma State. Like the games are going to start stacking up soon, so they have to get right this week. They have to get out of their head. They got to do whatever it is to start catching these passes when they hit their hands. If they're a little bit behind, high, whatever, they all can't be right in the breadbasket. So going to have to make these catches.
100% agree. I think that's where the conversation really starts and ends, because there's some talk, that Garrett didn't play well, and he didn't. I mean, he missed a couple of throws, but
Abysmal. He was
well,
abysmal. It's a
I
big
don't I
truth
don't I don't
about
know
it.
that he was abysmal.
He was
He
bad.
had 5 drops. If you take away those 5 drops, and even if you complete 4 of them, he's 19 of 28, and he's well over 200 yards, because the first play would have been a 30-yard play. I know he said the placement wasn't the best on it. That's a play that Traylon May's gotta make. I'm sorry. I don't I think that's a play you gotta make. Cole Taylor dropped one. Hudson Clement had that one toward the sideline. Jaden Bray had a drop. I mean, there was at least 5 drops off the top of my head. He had 161 yards. He was gonna have at least 240 if you catch 4 of those passes. So I don't think he was abysmal. I've seen him play worse, but I think he's got a little cleaning up to do in terms of the footwork. I still think that's a work in progress. And when you have some uncomfort or unfamiliarity with the offensive line, yet they brought a lot back. But when you have a new guy at center, a new guy at right tackle, when you got 2 dominant edge rushers like they have, it can get a little easy to get a little timid. And I think we saw that a little bit. He was kind of playing a little amped up, a little rush. He never really kind of calmed down. But the receivers have to make plays. I mean, this was something that Neil Brown talked about all preseason that, hey, we feel like we can win in man coverage now. Sure as hell didn't on Saturday. I don't know who that person's going to be that's going to step up. We talked about it how many times here that, yeah, it's nice you got, 5, 6, maybe 7 receivers, but you have to have a dude in that room. I don't know who that dude is going to be.
Yeah, there right now there is not a dude. And that's pretty much been the problem since he came here. They've had guys with potential, but it's just never panned out for whatever reason. Maybe they just weren't as good as they thought they were. But I still have a little hope with this room because there is more bodies than usual that have potential. But again, they're going to have to prove it. Like you're going to have to go up and get some balls. And when I say Green was abysmal, he left his receivers sometimes hanging.
He did.
The Cole Taylor drop, yeah, he got hit. Like you can't wait. Like you got to make that decision on the break that you're going to throw the ball. Don't give
Rip.
the safety time to come over to hit him like that. So, and you look at the Tyler Evans pass that it was so short and he was wide open in the end zone. Everything he did on the option read, like there was
Oh, the
nothing that he
Traylon
did.
Davis. Traylon
Traylon
Davis.
Davis, yes.
Yeah.
Everything that he did on the option read was bad. He didn't make any good reads throughout the day. So yeah, his play was bad. There's
Especially
no
in the run game.
sugarcoating it, Green. Like you can't make excuses for the
No.
kid because he just played terrible. And I mean, we've seen him play a lot better than what he was capable of. So I kind of put it the same thing I talked about the defense. Guys were trying to make plays. And when you're trying to make plays instead of let the game come to you, you're going to see it. Like how many times we've seen it in basketball where guys are forcing up shots, like or you know what I mean? Like there's just they were trying to force the action instead of just giving what the defense gave them, and they were giving them a lot of good looks. Like there was plenty of opportunities out there, but you're cutting routes short. You're not doing the things that you worked on all off season. Heard the coaches talk about it, and it just comes down to trying to make plays, like overplaying. But if you just stick with the fundamentals, stick with the coaches tell you, because I see Chad Scott teach a lot. Like I've seen him do it a lot, and that little cut jump that they practice isn't behind the line of scrimmage. You got to get through the line of scrimmage, not have happy feet in the backfield. So hopefully they can get in the rhythm. And again, I credit Penn State defense. Tom Allen, if you're not familiar
They're
with him,
legit, man.
he immediately turned Indiana around as a head coach. He
Yeah.
immediately turned that defense around, and they didn't have nearly the talent that Penn State has. So I'm not surprised how good their defense is. Uh, I'm not going to pronounce his last name, but offensive coordinator Andy Kay, like he's a good offensive coordinator. He knows how to scheme it up. He did a really good job. That Penn State team's probably going to be really good this year. Like they might. There's a good chance they're in the Big Ten championship. Like
Yeah.
they're good. They may have fixed their issues offensively. They've never really had a problem defensively. Manny Diaz obviously gone, but with Tom Allen coming in the fold, like they're probably going to be. This might be the best defensive unit they've had there in quite some time. So they're big, they're fast, and we talked about it. You want West Virginia. Obviously, you want West Virginia to be that type of program. This is only the second year of retaining talent, and they're still not. They still don't have the big bodies. We talked about it. Like, yeah, they've gotten bigger, but they're still not at a level of a Penn State. And
No.
whether you want to believe it or not, that's a blue blood program. They've been successful for decades. They're not just turning something around over the last few years. They hit the NIL running. That they've continued to be competitive. You can't really compare them with Michigan and Ohio State because what they've done is no one else is doing either, right? Like you can grab a handful of teams. Like what's Alabama going to be without Nick Saban? Like look what Kirby Smart just did to Clemson. Like they're above everybody else. Like it's not even close. So it's a work in progress. It's not what you wanted. I know this team was capable of playing better than they were. I think the team feels they were capable of playing better than they were, but now they're going to have to go show it. And these receivers, yeah, if they don't put up numbers against Albany, yeah, it's going to be a long season. But more than likely, they will put up the
Yeah.
numbers, and hopefully they can keep it rolling.
It certainly will. I mean, you have to bounce back this week. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You cannot come out flat against Albany, and I'll dive more into that tomorrow. But the other thing, there's two more things I want to touch on with offense. Rushing game, only 85 yards, and we know Penn State's defense is going to be the best they see all year. But they ran like you just said against a better defense last year that Penn State had in Happy Valley and ran for 146. That's a concern. have we been kind of underplaying the loss of Zach Frazier a little bit? And I know you and I probably really haven't because we've said, like, yeah, that's an All American that you're losing, one of the best centers in the country. No disrespect to Brandon Yates, no disrespect to Nick Malone having to fill in for Doug Nestor, but replacing those two guys is going to be an absolute chore. And that was one of my biggest really worries or issues coming into the season is, hey, if you struggle to run the football, what's your identity going to be? Because that's what this team banked on at the tail end of 22 when they got a little bit hot towards the end. And then they carried that momentum into 2023 where it was run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. And that became their identity. If you can't do that in 24, I don't know what you're going to do, especially if the receivers don't capitalize on any man-on-man situations or if they just can't make plays deep downfield. Like, I don't know. I think that's the biggest concern for me, but I'm not, like you said, I'm not ready to start panicking just yet because that's the best unit they're going to see. They'll bounce back this week. Pitt, I think you'll kind of get a better idea. If they can run the ball against Pitt, they can go over 100 some yards, then you start to feel a little bit more comfortable about the situation. If they really struggle to run it against Pitt, oh boy, it's going to be quite the long season. But lastly, was the red zone. I mean, just missed out opportunity after missed opportunity. I know they went for it a couple of times deep down there, but they were in some. They were in the one situation was a 4th and 10, so they didn't really help themselves out in earlier downs. And I think that was kind of the theme for the day, at least from my point of view, is it just felt like they weren't getting good enough plays or gains on first down and second down to get in those third and fourth and manageables. So that is a key area moving forward that they've got to build on. Now, again, not worried about this week, but you've got to be able to score in the reds, and that's something that they've talked about all fall camp long.
Yeah, and again, I'll credit Penn State. Once the field shrunk, they really bowed up, and not. I'm not concerned about the running game because it was fit. Like we've seen that before. CJ did it last year where he was dancing the back. Like we've seen it before, so it'll be corrected. And again, the middle of that defensive line for Penn State, like they're five deep or something ridiculous.
It's it's
Like
it's
that's not even
nasty.
an exact. That's not even an exaggeration. Like they're extremely deep. They're big. They're strong. I didn't think that they really, they didn't win up front, but I don't necessarily thought they lost up front. It just has to go with like you can't sit there and just dance again. I'm gonna probably beat this to death, but you can't dance in the backfield against a good unit like that. Like it
Get
just can't happen.
downhill.
You cannot stutter step. You cannot hesitate against a fast, strong, explosive defense like that. So
Look at what
I'm
their
not
running backs did. They got downhill quick and they ripped
right.
off
You
big
just got to
runs.
get upfield, and you got to give it what. Eventually, that then your offense will start winning battles because you're going to start wearing them out because you're moving the ball down the field. Like you can't let them dictate, and they let them dictate by how they were running the ball. So the Le'Veon Bells of the world and Najee Harris, they get to kind of get behind those big offensive linemen and hide. That doesn't necessarily work at this level unless you're the bigger, powerful team. So they have to just get upfield. And Jawan Sauter, when he was here, when Dana was running the offense, their whole thing was get the ball through the line of scrimmage in like a second or less. Like it was a crazy amount of time, and you saw Penn State doing that. Like they just got upfield, and
Yeah.
you let the defense overplay, and West Virginia fell right victim to that. Like they just overplayed because they were just running so fast up the field. So just got to do the same thing: get the ball, get upfield. If you only get 3 or 4 yards, you're second 7, second 6 instead of second 10, second 11 because you were trying to wait for the play to open up. Like when you're out big up front, like you can't sit there and wait for your guys to open up the hole. It's not going to be there. Like that gap's going to be real short for a short period of time, so you have to get upfield.
Defensively, obviously, I don't know what to be excited about or jumping for joy about. I mean, there was really nothing to be satisfied with. They did not fit the run game whatsoever. The linebackers, I thought, really underwhelmed in this game. Jordan Leslie talked about it on Monday. They were a little too fast on their actions. The defensive line didn't get a whole lot of push. And when they did, they just kind of got stood up, and there was no shedding of blocks or anything like that. That's why you saw Drew Aller when he did get out of the pocket, even though he's a big kind of guy and he's more slow footed than a Garrett Green, he was able to get first downs and pick up yardage with his legs because they were not able to get off blocks, and when they did, they were taking bad angles, and they were just diving. They were going way too high. So I don't know what the biggest concern is on defense. I mean, you could say it's a little bit of everything, but to me, starts and ends with the run game again. Like, you're not going to win games in the Big 12 or any league for that matter in college football if you don't run the ball and stop the run. That's where it starts. That's where it ends. You gave up 222 yards on the ground to this Penn State team. He gave 146 yards to him last year. It's a really good running back duo, but you just can't simply give up the big chunk yardage that they had. They're going to make their plays. Everyone knew that going in. They're going to have situations where they rip off a 12 or 15-yard run. They're going to get those few chunk plays where they, 5 or 6 yards here and there, but you can't allow the 20, 30, 40-yard runs to happen and happen as often as they did, or at least it felt as often as they did.
I said the same thing Sunday. Just they overplayed. They were trying to make a play, and instead of just
So
filling
many of
the
those.
hole, they overplayed. So not concerned about it too much. I guess you can take solace in the fact that Alar his big runs was because the coverage was good downfield, and it was man coverage. And when you're back to the ball like that, that's what's going to happen. So that's when where you're going to have a spy on Drew Alar who runs like a 4.740. Like at some point, yes, the defensive line, but again, go to credit Penn State offensive line. They lost some guys, but they don't rebuild; they reload. They
Yeah.
got guys that are coming in that are going to be NFL guys. So yes, do you want West Virginia to be like this? You just have to kind of be patient because it's going to take. It doesn't take. Again, Penn State's had a lot of success for a lot of decades. They've never taken a step back. So West Virginia's always found success in the Pat Whites of the world, the under recruited guys. They still can, but you can see the recruiting's changing. So yeah, it'll take time to get like that where you're reloading, but West Virginia's they're still rebuilding. Like it's still a rebuild. So I don't I'm not overly concerned about anything until we get through September. Like they lose the Pitt, then there's a problem. Like I know Pitt people are just congratulating themselves over that big win over Kent State.
Oh, yeah.
That's a bad football team, period. Like they won 3 games last year and they didn't really get better. So you got to go beat Pitt. You'd like to see them, obviously, you'd like to see them blow out Pitt, but rivalry games tend to be close. But you got to go win those matches up front. Now, if they don't win any of these matches against Albany, then maybe we'll have a little concern a little earlier. But again, I'm not worried about these type of things because the defense going in, I knew they were going to struggle early in the year. Like you got guys, but it's still a lot of cohesiveness defensively. Like the rules are made for offense, so you have to have a
Yep.
lot of cohesiveness defensively. So just like you said at the beginning, like you needed the offense to score. You were hoping the offense was building off of last year. They played like trash. There's no argue. You can't argue that didn't play like trash. So they have to fix this offensively the next couple of weeks while the defense gets their feet wet. Like they don't even know what all these guys can exactly do. And I'll give a shout out to Josiah Trotter, his first collegiate game.
Yeah.
He leads the team in tackles. So they
Hats
weren't
off to them.
impressive. Not a lot of impressive results coming from the defense, but there is things to be excited about. Again, Drew Alar came off, his those big runs came off of man coverage. So they were covering guys downfield. That's something that you can build off of. Up front, I think they're going to be a lot better than what they showed because again, that's a really good Penn State offensive line. And I think really what the takeaway is Penn State may be a really, really good football team. Like
Yeah.
a really, really good football team moving forward. And they have a chance. Although I did pick USC to win the Big Ten, and look at them right out the gates. Week 1, USC, Penn State in the Big Ten title. Let's
And
go.
I thought you were drinking something crazy in your cup over there, but
Well, you know
maybe you
what?
do you're on to
The
something maybe.
craziness went so peck Florida State. So,
That one really went out last night, but, or well,
but
2,
who is a
whatever it was.
dominant team in the ACC right now? Maybe Boston College. I don't know. You still go into Doak Campbell, even if it's not a good
Yeah.
Florida State team, and play like that. Could be BC. I don't know. We'll see. That'll
They're
be fun if Boston College makes it back in the conversation in AC championship. That's like an old school program.
yeah.
College football needs stuff. College football needs the Boston College of the worlds to make some noise. We don't need the same teams every year.
Well, and but when to build on your secondary thing, I mean, I thought Garnett Hollis played a good day or played a good game for the most part. I mean, he had a couple of plays you would like to have back, but I mean, you think he had the one play toward West Virginia's sideline around midfield. It was a completed catch, but I mean, Alar just put it in the exact spot it had to be for his man to make the catch. And hats off to him. Really good blanket coverage by Garnett. The touchdown, I'm not even convinced that it's still a touchdown. Like I think he probably juggled it. I don't know that he ever had control. Really good coverage again, either way by Garnett Hollis. So I think you found out for sure that even though the statistic may not say it, the end result may not say it, you know you have a guy in Garnett Hollis that can go up and match up against any of the top receivers that you're going to see throughout the rest of the year. He's going to have some tough matchups for sure, but you feel comfortable about him. You feel probably solid about the safeties in the room, even though they didn't play
No,
well. They didn't play well, but
I forgot to mention safety. That was another concern coming in. Not impressed with the safety play coming in. Not
I'm not
impressed with the
impressed with it.
safety
But I'm
play
not worried
after
about
me.
it.
But it was a concern because this group has to come together, so it's still that cohesiveness of playing with one another. Like Aubrey Burks is playing
Yeah,
with new corners. Like these guys got to get used to each other. So again, I knew the defense would struggle. Anyone that thought the defense was going to be dominant coming in, or not have their struggles coming in, was probably a little too optimistic. So yeah, that's a work in progress, and that's why you have to lean on the offense early. I think that's why, like you said, the offense was so disappointing because you knew in this first month, like the offense has to produce, so they're going to have to continue to produce
yeah,
going forward, especially against Kansas. Now we don't know what Kansas is yet without Coach Andy Kay, so yeah, Leopold's still there, but I mean he's a good offense coordinator, so it'll be interesting to see that. It still could be in the 40s, 45, 48, or something crazy that game anyway.
yeah. I mean, I wasn't impressed with the safeties either, but it's not a group that I'm really overly concerned with. They've played a lot of football. They just got to
Still
play together.
very,
You got KK
very
Tarnu, you have Aubrey Burks, you have Jaheim Joseph. There's a lot of guys that have played a ton of college
Here's
football.
why I'm
It's gonna
concerned because
figure they're gonna figure it out together.
I
It's
hope
just they have to
because
figure out how to play with these corners, like you said. The thing to me is the linebackers. Those guys are very young, but you need more out of them. You can't have them playing out of position. You can't have them overshooting and missing their run fits. You've got to nail those things down. Ben Cotter didn't play well at all. Trey Lathan, maybe one of his worst games, in my opinion. There's more upside in that room than what they showed. Same thing can go with the defensive line. They did not play well at all. I think that front seven has to be light years better than what they were on Saturday.
fifth year senior can't miss coverage on a cover two. Can't happen.
No,
That's
no.
concerning. You can't miss the coverage on cover two and allow whatever that pass was, however long that pass was, then the second half can't happen. Yes, it was more than likely offensive pass interference, but if you're in your spot, pass never happened. So can't have that. And
No,
that's a problem. And he
it
got
is.
picked on. He
It
got
is.
picked on quite a few times last year during the season. So you're gonna have to step up all around. Now again, that again, AB just trying to make a play. He bid
Yeah.
on something, just trying to make a play, but it's still concerning. Can't bite, can't bite. Got to stay in your coverage. Can't happen to a fifth year senior.
It's not all doom and gloom. Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe we'll have a different tone when we come back here on the post game show with Gene on Saturday. And if things are flat, then maybe we'll do the post game show the morning after, next Tuesday between the ears, all in one night, just to get it all out so we can take the next few days off, because that's not going to be very fun to talk about. So we'll see what happens.
Albany moved up in the rankings too. How about that?
Yeah, they did. They sure
One
did.
spot.
So Albany coming in on Saturday. That'll do it for us here today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on our YouTube page at West Virginia on SI. Make sure you follow us on X at SI_WVU. For Christopher Hall, I'm Callihan. Thank you guys for watching another episode of Tween Ears. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow.